and everybody out there listening on our YouTube and on our Facebook Live. Glad to have you. Now, look, very special guest. He is the head track coach at Southern University. He my cousin from the other side, right? I'm Perry White. He Coach White. Good morning, Coach White.
How you doing, cuz? I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Can't complain.
Let's talk about the SWAC track and field competition. The championships were held in Southern University here in Baton Rouge for the second consecutive year, man. And listen, you know, first of all, let's just talk about what does it take for a program out there that even with their fans listening, for them to host a track and field championship?
It's a lot of moving parts to a track and field championships. It takes a lot of support, a lot of help, a lot of work for planning, and you know, after it all over, you still got to do work. So it's a whole lot, and it takes a whole lot of hands on deck to make a track move.
And I guess I'm asking more for facilities. What facilities does a program need if this was to move around here and there? Because I know everybody in the SWAC does not have the adequate on-campus facilities, but what did you guys provide and have where the SWAC say, you know what, we can host this there?
All right. First of all, we have a really good facility. We got one of the largest track venues in the country. So we have a seating capacity over 20,000. Then we have the Jaguar Park where we host. We have our outdoor events. We have the long jump, triple jump, hammer, discus, and javelin. We have all of those events that's held on the outside. But when you're hosting a championship, it's a 3-day event. But you gotta count. You gotta factor in the first day where the teams come in and warm up and practice. So it takes like over 100, and it takes over 100 people to actually host a meet of that caliber over those amount of days. So it takes a lot of just getting everything right before, making sure everything is set up, making sure the sand pits fill it up, making sure all the lines on in the throwing events is striped up, making sure you got the people to move the hurdles from one point to the other, making sure you move the blocks, you got the timing guys, you got the officials. It takes a whole lot to host the meet, But over in Baton Rouge, we do a great job with it. Our administrators make sure they get the adequate help in order to make it work. Our coaches come out and help. Some of our alums come out and help. And you have people coming from across the country to come help with the track and field meet. And most importantly, the SWAC comes in and they make sure that they're doing everything they need to do in order to make it work. But it's a lot of moving parts to have a track and field meet, and especially a championship that you're going to host over 3 days.
And so this is year 2. How many? What are we looking at in the future? Is this going to be another year at Southern after this?
Yes. So we scheduled to have the SWAC Championship for one more year because it's on a 3-year rotation right now. So we're going to have it one more year at our place, and it's probably going to shift around maybe back to Prairie View, or it's going to go to Alabama A&M, because we're the 3 schools in the conference that could actually host a conference championship right now.
All right, let's start the breakdown. Where you want to start? You want to start on the track side, or you want to start on the field side? Where you want to go with this in terms of breaking this down, giving the people out there, the listeners, what the SWAC had to offer at this time, at this track and field championship?
I mean, this was one of the best championships that the SWAC has had in some years. We had a lot of great times. A lot of some of the top 20 kids in the country that came out and competed at our championships. But most importantly, this year we moved up from last year. Last year we had 1 conference champion. This year we had 3 conference champions. And so this year we had Sanaya Lathan. She came out for us in the high jump, and she jumped 5'7" and she ended up winning. We had Doreen Ochango. She came out with a win in the steeplechase. That was kind of like unexpected, but she came out and competed. And we had one of our tennis girl, Jessica Hess. She actually came open up that conference meet, and it's our first meet in college, and she won the javelin. And most importantly, she's gonna qualify for the NCAA first round. And we got a whole bunch of kids that did some great things. We got a few more kids. Roman Smith, he got on the podium in the high jump. He was second place, and he qualified for the NCAA first round. He one of the top 20 high jumpers in the country right now. We have Josiah Parker. He came in second place in the discus throw for us. We had another young lady, Rondisha Williams. She was third in the 100 meters and the 200 meters with lifetime PRs in those events. But this weekend was really, really great. It was a great experience, from Sunday all the way to Tuesday, and the kids really came out and competed real well for us, and we're looking forward to doing even better things in the future.
And then looking overall in the SWAC, who impressed you as you looked around at something? Because I even saw UAPB had an impressive showing. Plenty of schools around the country. FAMU, talk to us about the other schools and their performances.
I mean, just like you say, UAPB, they did really great. They got one of the better 4x1s and 4x4s in the country on the men's side, and they got a good chance of making it to nationals. I mean, FAMU, they had some sprinters that really came out and showed up that's qualified for the NCAA first round. You can't look past Alabama State. They got one of the best sprinters in the country, Stubbs, and that kid qualified for indoor nationals in the 16 and 2. Last year he qualified in the 1 and the 2 on the outside, and he's one of the top 5 best sprinters in the country. I mean, the SWAC is just not only just good in the SWAC, but in track and field, like we got over like 20 different events where these kids are top 20 in the country. So I mean, the SWAC is a premier conference when it comes in terms of track and field. It's just not like just conference or regional good. I mean, in track and field, we actually national good, and we're gonna have some teams that are actually gonna go out and score at nationals. Gonna be, some of the top 25 schools in the country.
You talking about that national stage. I remember, I think UAPB had a guy on the national stage last year, if I'm correct. But, looking overall, even at your program, where do you want your program to go heading into the future? And what more can you do in terms of growing that program?
I mean, on our women's side, we was third this year. Which wasn't a bad showing. But, I think in the future, we're going to get over that hump in order to win it. On our men's side, I feel like we was a little young this year on the men's side, but we have some things in place in order to make it better. We was ninth, but next year we'll be a few spots up, maybe even having a chance to win. But the conference is changing every day. The coaches in the conference, they are doing some really good recruiting, and they're doing well. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, everybody's doing well, and you got to keep building. I mean, soon as you think you got a team that can actually win, you got to kind of overkill the thing, because you're gonna have injuries gonna come. You're gonna have some other things come. You're gonna have some people that's gonna pop up in some places that you least expected that's gonna pop up. I mean, you look at it last year. We had the number 1 and number 3 guy in the 800 meters. They ran 1 minute and 52 seconds. Both of my guys ran 1 minute and 52 seconds and didn't make the final. So, I mean, the conference, 1 minute and 52 seconds would get you in the finals any year in the SWAC, but that's just to show you the competitiveness in the conferences, how it's growing, and every year it just keep getting better. So, you just can't settle on what you did the year before. You just got to keep moving and get ready for the future, because the future is coming and is continually get better, and people just learning a lot more things, and they just continue to grow.
What does recruiting look like for you guys as you out there looking for the next stars for Southern University track and field? Talk to me about recruiting, and if you need help with recruiting for anybody out there that may have a track and field kid, a student athlete that's considering Southern or looking to go somewhere, of any information that they can send over to you.
Actually, recruiting is going well right now. We didn't sign some kids. I think we didn't sign over 10 kids, but we most likely going to have over 20 kids that we're going to sign for this year up and coming class. The way I look at recruiting, I try to get kids that's able to come in and help us right away. So what I mean about help us right away is basically looking at those numbers from the year prior, seeing what those top 8 numbers were in the conference, and I try to base my recruiting a lot on that. But not even just that. I try to look at kids that could possibly get in the top 48 on the east side in order to go to the next step. So that's kind of what I kind of base my recruiting on. And not just that, I'm looking at kids that can actually graduate and make it through school and matriculate. So that's the kind of things I'm looking at when I look at recruiting. But we always have alum and supporters that always call us up and tell us about certain kids from around the country, and I always embrace that because it got so many kids out there, but it might just have this one or two kids that we might not know about that's maybe in Maine, I don't know, New York or something like that we probably not taking an eye on, that's interested in coming down south, and they can actually help us. So we embrace it. We might have a kid from another country that possibly can help us, but you can always reach out. Our email is on the website, our numbers on the website, and we always embrace people telling us about kids around the world.
When you look at your staff, talk to us about the staff that you have, man, and the other coaches that make this track and field program at Southern.
I have a great staff. I have a second to none staff. First of all, we have Coach Esau Lawless. Coach Esau has been around Southern University probably for the past 50 years. He ran for Southern. He competed at Southern, and he works with our 800 group on up, and he works across country. On the jump side, we have Coach Courtney Ware. She actually worked with all the jumps at Southern, and she helped out with the multis and everything. And she's been doing great for us too. And we have Coach Freddie Glover. He's my associated head coach. He worked with sprint hurdles, and he worked with the multi too. And he handled a lot of the recruiting aspect of it. So a lot of kids that come in, like 80% of them, he's the one that kind of get on top of that and make sure all that works. And we have Coach White, which is our strength coach, and she's doing really well for us. And she actually come out and help out with the throws and stuff like that. So, I have a great staff. And, I can't complain about it. And we just continuing to find new Jags and just work with the ones that we have in order to make them as best we can.
Coach, I got to get ready to take a break for a second. Can you hold on through the break with me and continue the conversation?
Yes, sir.
What I want to ask you moving forward, because I've been having this conversation with most of the coaches, the world of NIL and the transfer portal, because I want to get it from every perspective. We get so caught up in talking about the basketball and the football and, but every coach that I talk to, I want to get a perspective from their insight of their particular sports program. And for you, track and field, let's just start with NIL before we even get to the transfer portal. What does NIL look like in the track and field arena on the collegiate level?
I mean, NIL is major. If you look at it across the country, and the programs that are doing that's really successful, that have like some of the top athletes, basically the reason why they have those athletes is because of NIL. I mean, just look at the top programs in the country. You look at the Arkansas, you look at the Florida, you look at the USCs, you look at the LSU. I mean, traditionally those programs are good, but in order for those programs to keep moving, the NIL is going to be critical. It's going to be critical moving forward because it's going to change the whole landscape of how you look at athletics. You're going to look at a lot of programs going to have all of the top people because they have the money and the resources in order to have those people that they have. I mean, if without NIL, if programs not really able to access the NIL, it's going to be a disparity when you look at in terms of the sport. There's going to be a lot of disparities to see who's the top and who's the not. Because, you can have great coaches around the country. You got great coaches. You're going to have great coaches in programs that don't have as much as other programs. But if those programs got the athletes, so as those athletes, those top tier athletes are going to rise up. So that's how I kind of look at it. I mean, if that's what we're going to, in order for you to, stay up on top, you got to be able to have access some of those resources for those athletes in order to come, because that's what they're looking for. When you talk to those top athletes on the phone, they're going to ask you, like, what do you have? Do you have X, Y, and Z? And, if you don't have those things or you can't really talk about those things, that's kind of tough.
What does NIL look like for Southern when it comes to track and field?
NIL for Southern, we have some kids that actually get it. They kind of look. I guess they kind of look at the team and everything and see how they are. And some of them kind of get it, and some of the kids they kind of reach out on their own at different things, and they can kind of get some things or whatever. But like as of recent, until I get more into it to find out what all the coaches can do, I kind of stay out of it a little bit and kind of let them do their own thing, to see what the coach's going to say about how everything's going to work moving forward.
When you're looking at, you talk about like the LSUs, the Arkansas, what are we looking at in terms of what that price tag looks like on NIL to get those big time sports track stars like that, track and field star? Just in a ballpark, what are we looking at right now in that, for that, as they say, the bag?
for our sport, I think it's more of stipends right now. And some of them get some money. They get so much a month. I don't know what those figures are, but I know for some of the more the major sports, they kind of got a price tag on everything. But it's trickling down, but it didn't trickle down as much as far as for track and field as of yet.
Okay.
But I know it's going to get to that pretty soon because if you look at the basketballs and the footballs, women's basketball, the baseball, if they get to that, everything kind of just trickle downstream a little bit.
Yeah, because I was talking to Coach Carlos Funches. Of course, they won the SWAC basketball tournament on the women's side. And when they went to play UCLA, I mean, good game going back and forth. But then I asked him, I said, Coach, to even begin to have a conversation to try to get some of those perimeter players that we saw with UCLA, where is that conversation starting at? He said, conversation starting at $100,000 and up to even get those type of athletes. So,
correct.
It's Southern's kind of out the picture at getting any of those athletes, but we're going up against them. And that's the conversation I want to have, because I want a better understanding for fans out there when it comes to these different sports, because I think people think on the grand scheme, it's just easy to find some money and throw it at these kids and get them to get here. But it's not that easy to get that money, and it's really not that easy to get those kids when you don't have that money, because that's what they're looking for. And so I was curious about how does it work in track and field, because I've gotten an understanding with basketball. I've gotten an understanding with football. I've gotten a little bit better understanding with baseball. It's still evolving in that same instance as well. But I was very curious as track, especially like look at it like this. You have someone who you said could be on the national stage coming out of the SWAC tournament. I mean, out of the SWAC championships, track and field championships, and they turn some heads, and then does a big time program like we see on the other ends come in and try to poach them, saying, hey, well, what are you getting at Southern University? I can offer you this to get you from Southern University.
Correct. I mean, like the first program I mentioned was University of Arkansas. University of Arkansas, when it comes down in terms of track and field, they could do more than pretty much anybody when it comes down in terms of track and field, because with the resources that they have over there. So if you look at the end of the year and you look at like where the top people are going, you see the University of Arkansas getting people that's scoring at other universities, major universities. They're getting those kids to come over to them because they have those resources in order to offer those kids more. So you look, you just look at it. You look at the transfer portal, you see what these kids matriculating at, and see what programs they're going to after they left the national championship, and you can kind of see the programs that actually have the money in order to support these kids or what they're looking for. So, I mean, I see it in those terms, but as far as track and field, as far as the figures right now, as of right now, I don't know what that price tag look like, because it's kind of just still trickling down to our sport. But I know they're getting some nice funds, but I don't know what that actual number is, like as far as the price tag, seeing like how much this event is weighing versus that event. I haven't got down to see what that is, because it hadn't really flew down to our sport to see what the actual price tags are for certain events, or what the kids are worth.
I want to jump into the transfer portal now, because you just alluded to it. I'm seeing it across the sports, football, and once again, I go back to those sports because we got a little bit better understanding. I'm enjoying this conversation with you right now because it's giving me a little bit better understanding in the world that I quite don't understand track and field when you look at the landscape of college athletics changing. But just like football, coaches are almost having to turn over rosters because you're getting guys coming and going. The same with basketball. Some coaches, men and women, are losing entire rosters after the season if they found some success because they're jumping in the portal and going somewhere else. What is it looking like on our level when you talk about track and field, when you come to an end of the year? Does this look like the same thing we're seeing on the other level where kids are thinking the grass is green on the other side, or they're trying to chase a bag and you're having high turnover in the transfer portal? And for you going into the transfer portal, trying to bring a kid, let's say, who may have formerly been at one of these big schools and now looking for an opportunity at a Southern university?
Most definitely. I mean, the Division I coaches are looking for people that's kind of proven and, kind of did the Division I already. So a lot of the recruiters kind of go back to, they want some people with some experience. That's some experience that went to war at championship level when it comes down to Division I. So that's what college coaches are kind of looking for. Like when it comes down to in terms of the high school kids, we have some high school kids could really come out and be an impact in our program, but at the same time, they never really went to college. So by them never really going to college as of yet, a lot of the larger programs, even on our level also, you're looking for kids that, have some experience. So because their experience, when it brings into those programs, some programs, they lose a lot of people. So they need some more experienced kind of kids to kind of lead that team, because it's kind of hard to lead a team with a bunch of freshmen, just some young people. So they want that experience to come in so they can kind of keep their program afloat and kind of have it, some peer kind of direction with it to kind of keep it going, keep it moving. Because it's really important when it comes down to in terms of a team. Like, when these kids come out of high school, just some of them, they might have the big marks and they probably competed on a higher level, but they're just not ready to lead a program. And just like you're saying, like with the transfer portal and everything like that, it's just kind of hard to bring in a freshman. And so you're going to go to that transfer portal because you're looking for leadership also. So you're trying to build a culture within your program. And what you got to do is it starts with the coaches. Most importantly, it starts with those coaches. But you want to have some student athletes that understand the direction of what you're going in order to have the whole team flowing in that same direction.
Let me ask you, how has track and field changed? I know Southern has a storied track and field program, right? You even look at Brian Johnson, who won a medal in the Olympics and a former coach at Southern. How has it changed from, as folks say, back in the day compared to what it is today? What has changed with even going out to recruit? Because you said something about the high school kid in the transfer portal. What I'm realizing a lot now, coaches aren't really interested in the high school kids as much. They're looking at the kid that's out of the transfer portal. Does that resonate the same with you, where you're looking for a kid who's already had some experience on the college level? Or are you okay with going out, getting the high school kid and developing them up to be integral part of your program? And to go along with that, how has the landscape of track and field changed from the old days, let's just say from the 90s, to what it is today?
Well, in the 90s, when it comes in terms of track and field, it was simple with kids or whatever. If they had a program that they feel like they could get better and they feel like they could grow with the coach, it was easier to bring that kid in. But you look at those same kids, like say for instance, you're talking about the kids from the 90s, those same kids or whatever, at that time they are now parents. So some of their parents, they know the experience that they went to, and they had a lot of success. But those same parents, most of them would send their kid to a larger school versus coming to like a Southern. Mm-hmm. Like, they're sending their kids like different places because they want a different experience for the kids. Because the way I look at it is it's always growing. It's always growing. I feel like Southern is a great place and everything like that when it comes in terms of everything. But at the same time, like when parents kind of look at that, when you kind of looking at through their lens, they always want the kid to do something better than what they did.
Mm.
So I noticed that, they would send the kid somewhere else. They wouldn't send the kid like to somewhere they went because they want them to have a different experience than what they had. But at the same time, like I feel like, they got some that still would send the kids to like where they went to to have some kind of similar thing that they had. But I think that's the difference between the 90s and now. I think that, or the early 2000s and now, like, it's just the parents just want the kids to have something different than what they had. And at the end of the day, I understand it, but like we as coaches, we're going to keep on kicking, and we're going to still try to bring in the best student athletes that we could bring in at our institution. But I feel like that at our level, at the HBCU level, or whatever, we still got some really good success stories as far as when it comes down to in terms of track and field. And I feel like we could still have those kids that could go to the Olympics and do different things like the Brian Johnsons and like the Davenports or the Milborns or whatever. I feel like we could still have that. But during those times when you back it up, you look at the Milborn Davenport days, like, African American student athletes, they was going to those universities, so they kind of got all the top people at that time. So, over time, just things kind of evolve. But at the same time, I think we could still get some of the top. And yes, we do have to develop some kids, but the way I do my recruiting is I kind of mix it up. I have high school, I have junior college, and I have transfers. I kind of have all of them, maybe more high schools than anything. But I still like to try to bring in somebody with some experience because at the same time, like what I talked about earlier, I still want to have a culture within my program, and I want to have kids that's coming in that understand what I'm saying and what I'm doing with them in order to feed it to the younger ones.
I like that because that's a perspective that, I think could be eye-opening for a lot of people out there, because track and field is one of those where the groundwork of a program building kind of get lost in just looking for results. And I think a lot of people, they wait to the results. Did we win this award? Did we win this event? Did we win that? But it's the very fabric of the foundation that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to that program. And you're right when you talk about when you have those legacies, right? Someone who went to the school and then their kids, but then my kid, I don't really want him to go to Southern. I want him to go over here. We deal with that a lot across the board at a lot of these schools because the opportunities that the parents say, well, they're not limited like I was. They have the opportunity to go wherever they want, which rightfully so they do. But you look for that legacy to carry on at the schools. And then my last question for you, aside from that, in all honesty, what does it take to at least, and I don't even know in track and field if I can use the word, the name mid-major, but what does it take to just be a national contender in terms of a value pumped into a track and field program? Is it $500,000 annually? Is it $1 million? Is it $100,000? Like, what does it take to truly, I mean, I'm saying it because if it's something you need, we have a fan base of people that's out there that may not understand that, hey, we need to maybe invest this into track because I didn't know they needed X, Y, and Z. I didn't know it needed this to be successful because I didn't understand it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. You said it all right. But my administration give me everything I need, like as far as what I need as far as to take care of the kids. But the resources, we always need more in order to do exactly what you just said. So, and we have more whatever, and we have more resources as far as when it comes down to dollars, we could do a whole lot more with our kids. Like you look at the landscape, you look at NILs and everything like that. And in the track and field, in order to be like a national caliber type team and everything like that, you want to get to these track meets that at a higher level to get your kids exposed to those types of things. So it takes resources in order, to make your team like one of those national contenders. I mean, you look at some of the top HBCUs and mid-level programs around the country. They're actually putting a lot of resources into getting it. And so that's what you need. Like, I feel like we have like a really great venue and everything like at Southern University. And I think a lot of people would love to come to our venue to compete also. But at the same time, we at Southern University would like to, travel different places and do different things in order for go to other venues and kind of return the favor on people coming to us also. Like we like to travel, like, like they did back in the day. Like back in the day, if you notice, like in the 60s and 70s and 90s and 80s, they did go like to the Drake relays and they did go to California. But a lot of times right now, if you look at it in terms of how we travel, we travel a lot regionally, but we like to get out at, once or twice a year to, just go different places and everything like that. But it takes not even that, it just takes resources in order to do everything you're trying to do in order to make the program, even better than what it is today.
And I always like to have that conversation. I ask that question to every coach because fans see wins and losses, trophies, no trophies, right? But it's the layers that you have to peel back to say, what does this coach have? Does he have the adequate necessities to be able to be successful at the rate that the fans are holding them accountable for, right? And we know at Southern we love championships, right? But do people put their money where their mouth is, right? We get on social media and talk about the coach and this and that. And even though I get critical of coaches here on this show, I still make sure I do what I can in order to put the information out there to say, all right, if it is an area that is hampering or slowing you down from taking it to the next level or getting over the hump, what can I do to get the information out there to help you? Because there's always somebody out there willing to help. And I think a lot of times is we say we do a lot with less, but if you make it look good with a lot with less, people will think you got it all put together. Like, oh, you got it going on. You don't need anything, but they don't realize, I just made it look easy, but it was really hard behind the scenes because all you saw at the end of the day was the results. You didn't see what we had to deal with to train and develop this kid with the lack of resources or the lack of equipment. And like you said, we can't travel and go here and expose our kids to this and to that. So it's so much more that people have to understand. And I think a lot of times, and what I try to do with talking to coaches like yourself is to educate the fan out there to look beyond the wins and the losses and the championships, that if it's not where you think it should be because you think the name Southern should automatically be a championship, then what does it take for Southern to win championships and have a coach to explain that it's not as easy as just getting some kids, recruiting them and fielding them out there. It's an investment, and the investment comes from the fans and the supporters and the alums in order to continue that. Because I can win this year, but I can't come back next year with the same problems. We got to invest it in, eliminate last year's problem to then move on to something else.
Right. You hit it right on the nail. You hit it right on the nail. But, the more that we could get done or whatever, and the more that resources, the more support that we get, the better that we could be as a program.
Because I hear about the days of Coach Thomas, right? Hey, that's what everybody talks about, Southern's track and field, but I wish you much success in the journey, Coach, because I know it's not easy at HBCUs, and I know you guys deal with limited resources, and you don't have all the support, especially when you look at it's already tight enough to get money that's out there, and most people tend to throw the money typically towards the football and maybe some towards the basketball, and then everybody else is kind of left in the wind, just like, hey, you kind of get whatever is blowing that's left. But I know it's tough, man, but congratulations to you guys for just putting in the work, hosting the track and field. And first of all, shout out to Southern for being able to put together this track and field championships for the SWAC. Man, that's a big event. As you said, it takes a ton of people to make that be successful.
Correct. A ton of people. And look, Mr. White, I appreciate people like you kind of putting us out there, letting the people know that we need and just hearing our stories. I appreciate that,
Man, I appreciate you for coming on, man. And I tell people all the time, man, for me, it's nothing never personal. It's strictly business. Yes, I am critical in losses and when the things don't go right, but it's constructively. But at the same time, I'm not here to tear down. I'm here to put the question out there of what can we do to be better, because we know it always don't fall on the coach. Sometimes it fall on us as the alums and fans, because it's things that we can do better to help the coach besides just yelling and fussing over wins and losses. And it goes beyond buying a ticket. And as we know, track and field is one of those sports. It's a non-revenue sport. So it's not even easy to make money in track and field.
Correct.
So, Coach, man, I appreciate you. I'm holding up enough of your time today, man. I appreciate you for coming on and having this conversation for the people to get a better opportunity to get to know Southern University track and field and understand the landscape of how it is evolving along with everything else in athletics. This world is changing in front of us. We got to get an understanding of what it is and what it looks like, especially on our level. We don't have the Brinks truck that we can back up at any time and open the back and pull out a money bag and then go handle business. We got to do it grassroots from the bottom up. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and explaining and having that conversation with me, and for the people out there to have a better understanding as well.
I appreciate you having me on. And y'all have a blessed day. Go Jags.
Go Jags. All right, that's the voice of Coach White, the head track and field coach at Southern University.